Introduction, written by a disciple of Elizabeth Haich. I am a seeker. I seek an explanation for life on Earth. I would like to know what sense there is in the fact that a person is born, grows from a child to an adult through all kinds of difficulties, marries, brings more children into the world, who also grow up to adults, through just as many difficulties, also marry, also bring more children into the world, who then, with advancing age, lose the skills they took so much trouble to learn, and finally die. An unending chain without beginning and without end. Constantly, children are being born. They learn, they work hard, they want fully to develop both body and mind. And after a relatively short time, everything is over. And down under 6 feet of sod, they become fodder for worms. What is the sense in all of this? Going on and on just to produce more and more generations of people? And when certain people not only leave their descendants behind them, but also the work of the mind and spirit, why do they have the same kind of experience? Why do they grow old and take their high gifts to the grave with them? A Michelangelo, a Leonardo da Vinci, a Giordano Bruno, a Shakespeare, a Goethe, and many others. Why were these titans born if finally they had to decay in the same way as the worm that fattened itself on their bodies? No, it is not possible for life on Earth to be so senseless. Behind this seeming unending chain of birth and death, there must be a profound meaning, even if it seems to be inexplicable for the prejudiced mind. There must be a completely satisfactory and sensible explanation, seen from the other side. How and where can I find this other side of all things that definitely must exist? How and where can I find to get acquainted with it? Whom shall I ask for directions? Where do I find a person initiated into this mystery? A person who can tell me about this hidden truth. For throughout all recorded time, there have been outstanding people on earth who spoke out with unshakable assurance about the secret of life, and even witnessed their conviction with their life. Initiates, as they have been called. But where and from whom have these initiates received their initiation? And into what were they initiated? Socrates, for example. Consider him taking the cup of poison with divine calm, drinking it to the last drop, speaking fearlessly and objectively, quietly and calm and pleasantly about the effect of the poison, reporting how under the influence of the poison, first his feet get cold and die, how the deathly cold gradually crawls up from his feet towards his heart like a snake, and closes his eyes. Such unshakable peace and calm in the face of death can only come from sure knowledge. Where did Socrates get this knowledge? And where have various other titans living on earth at different times got their knowledge about the secret of life and death, their initiation? Even today, there must be such initiates living on earth, and there must be some way to obtain initiation, a really great initiation. Life has taught me that the Bible is not a book of fairy tales, but has been written by initiates to transmit hidden truth to us in a secret language. And the Bible tells us, "Seek, and ye shall find. Knock, and it shall be open unto you." I obeyed. I began to seek everywhere I could, in books, in old writings, among people who I thought might know something about the initiation. At all times, I kept my eyes and ears open, and in my searches through books, old and new, as well as in the teachings of people both living and dead, I kept trying to discover hidden mosaic stones, with which to piece together the secret of the initiation. And I found. At first, on rare occasions, here and there, with my inner ears, I heard the voice of truth speaking in a book or in the words of a living person, and I always went further in that direction, indicated by this mysterious voice. Like the thread of Aradni, this secret voice always led me on. Sometimes I found someone in my own hometown who could give me valuable information for my further search. Sometimes this voice led me far away into strange lands, where I often found the information that was in remarkably close agreement with the words I had heard at home. Thus, my path led to people with ever greater knowledge who explained more and more to me about initiation and the meaning of life. Naturally, I also met many ignorant people, and people with half knowledge who pretended to know. But I got so I could recognize immediately when the hands were Esau's, but the voice was Jacob's. These poor charlatans, pretending to be initiates, gave themselves away very fast. They were not even in harmony with themselves and their own life. So how could they have taught me anything about the deepest truth of life, about initiation? In such cases, I simply went on seeking someone with true knowledge, a true initiate. Whenever I found someone who could tell me more than I already knew, I stayed there to learn as much as I possibly could learn. In this way, I once came into the presence of an old woman living in a retreat as if in a convent. She was surrounded by countless seekers, like a lump of sugar to which long rows of ants make a steady pilgrimage to get food. She was working in very close association with two very much younger men, one from India and the other from the Occident, whom the old woman called Sun. The old woman was tall, of majestic stature and bearing, but extremely simple and completely natural in her movements. Her deep blue eyes were surprisingly big, and her long, dark brown eyelashes gave them a remarkable expression. Her eyes were smiling, friendly, full of understanding, but so penetrating that most people are embarrassed when she looked at them. People felt that this woman could see right through everybody, that she could clearly see their thoughts, the entire structure of their souls. Very often, while listening to her lectures among a group of other persons, I felt a number of questions arising within me. She kept on talking, but she smiled, and then in her next few sentences, she made a point of answering my unspoken questions. I just could not cope with this woman. The more I learned from her, and the more my spiritual eyes were opened, the greater she seemed to me, and the more the field in which her knowledge surpassed mine seemed to expand in time, in every direction. The longer I stayed with her, the less I felt I knew her. Every time I saw her, she appeared to be a different person, until I got the impression that this woman carried within her and could manifest the whole range of human personality, and consequently had no personality herself at all, because to be everything simultaneously means to be nothing. "Mother," I asked her once, "who are you really?" "Who?" she asked me in return. "What is that who? There is only one being that is, and every person, every animal, every plant, and even every sun, every planet, and every other heavenly body is only an instrument for the manifestation of this one and only being that is. How many whos would there be? The same self speaks through my mouth as through yours, and through all living creatures. The only difference is that not every living creature knows perfectly its own self, and consequently is not able to manifest all characteristics of the self. But anybody who knows the self completely and perfectly can manifest all the characteristics that exist in the universe, because all these characteristics are the various aspects of the one and only being that is, the one and only self. The external form which you see before you, thinking that that is I, is only an instrument through which the self manifests that particular aspect of itself that is necessary at any given time. So don't ask any more nonsense like who I am. Mother, I said, how have you come to know the self so completely and perfectly as to be able to manifest all its possible characteristics? I would like to be so far advanced too. Tell me, through what experiences have you come in order to become such a versatile instrument for the manifestations of the one and only being that is? Or have you always been on this level? Where were you born in this condition? Born, she echoed. I born? When have you ever seen that an I was born? Have you ever seen an I? The I has never been and never will be born, only the body. The true divine self is perfection itself, so a development in it is not possible. Only the body must develop in order to be able to manifest higher and higher vibrations and higher frequencies of the self. Even the most highly developed instrument, the most highly developed body, must go through this process, including mine, which, by the way, is still far from perfection. Everything is only a phase of development. The creation of a body is always a chain reaction, as such processes are called nowadays. And whenever a chain reaction has made a beginning, it runs through various periods until it comes to an end. No material form of manifestation can escape from this law. And parallel with the development of the body, the condition of consciousness naturally changes also. That means that you have to go through a period of development too, doesn't it, Mother? Please tell me what it was like. What kind of experiences did you have that caused you to grow into your present condition of consciousness? Please tell me all about it. Why should I tell you about it? She replied. Everyone must achieve perfect recognition of self in their own way. What good would it do for me to tell you my way? You could not follow my way. Events themselves are not important. Only the experiences and the lessons that you get from them. Just take it easy. On your way, you will learn the same lessons as I on mine. There are innumerable pathways, but they all lead to the same goal. Mother, you are right. I see clearly that I would not be able to make progress on your path. Nonetheless, it would help me very much if you would tell me how you have acquired your experience, because I and all the others who would listen to your story would be able to learn how one can profit from experiences. I'm not curious about your story, but merely anxious to hear how you began to seize upon and learn the lessons that is in every event. Please tell me about the path you have followed, Mother. It would be so valuable for us to learn your attitude towards life and how you reacted towards your fate, so that as to develop your spiritual horizon to such an all-inclusively great extent. We could learn a great deal from your story. The old woman looked at me for a long time. Finally, she said, so you are curious as to how I reacted, and you believe it will help you and others to hear about it. All right. Perhaps it really will be a good thing to tell you about the experiences that gradually opened my eyes to the inner laws of life and the various relationships that bound together the destinies of different people. Come back tomorrow. I will tell you and a few others whose lives are open to the essential things in life about the experiences that helped me find what people call illumination. I will tell you how I experienced my initiation. The next day found me and a number of her most advanced pupils sitting in front of the old woman, and she began to tell us the story of her initiation. That is how this book was written.